So, I already beat Alan Wake on Nightmare, with no guns, just a flashlight, flares, and whatever was left of my sanity.
This is fine.
And if that sounds painful, it was. But apparently, I wasn't done suffering, because the Platinum Trophy needs 2 full playthroughs. So, welcome to part 1 of my Alan Wake Platinum journey. Back in 2010, this game grabbed my brain like a raccoon in a bin. 15 years later, I'm back with a flashlight and a hypothesis. Does the Platinum Trophy make this experience better, or turn into an errand list with jump scares? There are 51 trophies, including combat, story, and collectibles. And oh my god, the collectibles. This game has over 300 scattered thermoses, manuscript pages, signs, cans, probably Alan's IRS statements at this point. Which begs the question, does getting the Platinum in Alan Wake make it a better experience, or do the collectibles smother it? Alan Wake kicks off in the best way possible, a dream, because nothing screams stable protagonist like spawning in your own nightmare tutorial with zero explanation and vehicular manslaughter on the highway. Except the guy we hit wasn't a guy, he was a shadow demon with beef, bad posture, and a personal vendetta against best-selling fiction. Next minute, we're sprinting towards a lighthouse, being chased by trauma in human form, until the game finally hands us a flashlight and a gun. It's time to learn how to kill metaphorical darkness with literal light, and go full paranormal pest control on depression with legs. It's less tutorial and more lucid sleep paralysis with a gun.
You picked the wrong house, fool! Hey!
Then Alan wakes up on a ferry headed for Bright Falls, a quiet little town where everyone looks like they've got at least one body buried in the backyard. He's with Alice, his wife, his rock, and professional I can fix him up speedrunner. Alan's got a chronic case of writer's block and probably undiagnosed rage issues, so Alice books him a romantic getaway in a cabin on Cauldron Lake, with no phone, no internet, and no emergency exit.
It's like a reward.
They arrive, it's getting dark, and there's no lights. Alice is immediately not having it, so we crank a generator like it owes us child support. Alan steps outside for literally 2 seconds and immediately hears Alice screaming, runs back in, she's gone, straight up yoinked by something in the lake. So what does Alan do? The only logical thing, full swan dive into the abyss. We cut to black, and next thing we know, we wake up a week later behind the wheel of a wrecked car with no memory, no Alice, and somehow still no working phone.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Alan sees a gas station in the distance and decides to casually walk through a haunted forest like that's a normal Tuesday. Unfortunately, the Forest of Bright Falls, a less scenic hiking trail and more murder arena hosted by the concept of fear. Shadow men start popping out from behind trees like evil whack-a-moles with axes. But we figure out the combat loop, flashlight blast, shoot, panic roll, and repeat until the trees stop whispering death threats. We stumble into a lumberyard, get ambushed, but lucky for us, we have a flare gun. This thing is the delete button. You shoot it once and everything around you gets sent to the Shadow Realm.
Be gone, sucks!
Even the local boss Taken, who shows up to monologue and acts like he's special, eats one flare to the face and disintegrates like a vampire in a tanning bed. We attempt to exit the lumberyard, get jumped again, and somehow my brain accidentally nails a perfect dodge. I'm not even sure it was intentional. I think my finger just flinched out of survival instinct. Now boosted with false confidence and a thermos addiction, I wander into the gas station, still high on adrenaline and flashlight fumes. Alan calls for help and Sheriff Breaker arrives, MILF number 2 on the Bright Falls roster, instantly radiating hot single mum energy with a side of I do not get paid enough for this.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
Chapter 2 opens with Alan trying to explain a haunted lake, missing wife, and shadow demons to the police, all while looking like he just lost a fight to a microwave burrito. Sheriff Breaker's suspicious, but chill. But before she can say mental facility, Alan gets a call. Mysterious voice, raspy tone, claims he has Alice and wants to meet us at Lover's Peak tonight, because apparently hostage negotiations work best in horror movie time slots. As we're leaving the station, Barry, Alan's agent, best friend, and walking bottle of unfiltered anxiety, enters the chat. He shows up dressed for a vacation and immediately gets hit with Alan's mental PowerPoint presentation about shadow monsters and disappearing wives. Barry, to his credit, does not immediately run. He processes and then suggests maybe Alan take a nap before sprinting into the woods again. So they shack up in a new cabin, which isn't sketchy at all, and Alan immediately decides it's solo forest time.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
On the way, we pass through a park ranger station where Rusty, the actual ranger, gets possessed and turns into a sprinting death gremlin. Bro's quick, faster than anything we've seen so far. I'm running, I'm screaming, I'm burning through batteries like I'm charging a Tesla. But a few good flashlight bursts and some revolver shots later, Rusty finally explodes into shadow dust. And right after that, as I'm sprinting for my life again, 4 shadow dudes decide to jump me like it's a group therapy session with knives. And with no hesitation, I whip out the flare gun, aim directly into their collective darkness, and let the sun do the talking. They all evaporate at once. It was glorious.
Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
Alright, we need to talk about the collectibles. There are over 300 of them in a 10-hour game. That's not content, that's a hoarding disorder with a save file. You've got manuscript pages, cool, makes sense, ties into the story. But then coffee thermoses, Why? Because Alan's a writer, so of course he's got to chug caffeine like it's liquid plot armor? There's like 100 of these fucking things, and they're always off the trail and involve me donating a kidney to a taken just to get one. And don't even get me started on the radios and TVs. They don't offer lore, they don't offer insight, they just exist to pad time and whisper weird nonsense while I'm trying not to get murdered in the woods. Hidden chests? Fine. At least they give you gear. But then the game hits you with, hey, wanna shoot some cans? And gives you a trophy for it like I'm 12 and waiting for my turn on the Xbox. Brain fried, trigger finger sore, collectibles collected. And now, because Alan's life can't ever be normal, we get into a cable car that crashes harder than my GPA in high school. But lucky for Alan, he's saved by some random stranger who looks like he just finished yelling at clouds and buying bulk duct tape. Together, they head towards Lover's Peak, but it's not a chill hike. Alan's got no guns, just flares, a flashlight, and a buddy who probably smells like campfire and Old Spice. You're stuck relying on your new buddy to actually do the shooting, which is concerning. We reach Lover's Peak, and shocker, the hiker is the kidnapper. So Alan, being a man of action and zero impulse control, decks him straight in the face. They tumble off the ledge like a dramatic soap opera cliffhanger, and the kidnapper runs and Alan walks it off like he didn't just backflip off a mountain. Back on the trail, Alan gets another cryptic phone call from the kidnapper. New meeting time, new meeting place. See you in 2 days at the coal mine. Alan finally makes it back to the cabin where Barry's doing absolutely nothing helpful. But before Alan can explain how he just fought a hiker and gravity, the house gets attacked by birds. Demonic, dive-bombing, blackout-inducing birds. And Alan's just outside twirling his flashlight like he's Gandalf at a pigeon rave.
Hey, you guys are watching Bird Up, the worst show on television.
Eventually, we outlast the airborne apocalypse, the sun rises, Barry's phone rings, and chapter 2 wraps up like nothing traumatic just happened. You remember that phone call Barry received like 10 seconds ago? Well, that was Rose, the waitress from the diner that claims to have found the manuscript. Cool. Seems legit. Definitely not a trap. Definitely not a possessed vessel for Barbara Jagger, the local ghost grandma with unfinished business and a deep hatred of lambs. Alan and Barry head over and get drugged immediately. Alan barely finishes his coffee before he face plants into another blackout. He wakes up, sweating, confused, and probably hallucinating again, just in time for the cops to roll up and start firing, which, to be fair, is pretty normal behavior in Bright Falls.
That's what I'm saying.
So Alan does what he does best, runs into the woods like a maniac, and somehow stumbles into a train depot where, I kid you not, a possessed bulldozer tries to run him over. It charges, it roars, it has no business existing. But Alan drops flashlight justice on it like it's sponsored by Duracell. We finally drag ourselves to the coal mine and, surprise surprise, the kidnapper doesn't show. Instead, Alan gets yet another phone call, same creepy voice, new destination, Cauldron Lake Lookout. Oh, and there's a catch. If we want to meet the deadline trophy, we've got 30 minutes to haul ass to Cauldron Lake from the coal mine. So now I'm treating this like a one-man horror speedrun, minus the glitches and plus the trauma. And as we're running through a field, we're suddenly ambushed by an entire rugby team of Taken. I'm talking full sprint, shoulder pads made of darkness. So I do what anyone would, flashbang out, and they start popping off like microwave popcorn. But there's no time to celebrate though, because now all the random boxcars and train parts that have been suspiciously left laying around are now possessed. Random hunks of steel are flying at my head like Alan slept with a vengeful locomotive. I just kept beaming light in every direction until the parts exploded into sparkly rage confetti, and in doing so, unlock another trophy for destroying 20 poltergeist objects. A couple of minutes later, I pulled off the cleanest move of the run. 2 Taken line up like they're posing for a high school yearbook, and I land a shotgun double kill. Absolute gamer moment. Then I get baited into an abandoned building, except it's not abandoned, it's full of Taken. I'm on 1 hit point, breathing heavy, surrounded, and genuinely considering death. But as a last resort, I yank out a flare like it's holy water and just scream into the void.
The power of Christ compels you.
And finally, the Iron Horse, a full train, alive, angry, blocking my path. And while most people just run past, nah, I stand there and fry that thing until it explodes into one final burst of metal and shame. And just as I'm thinking, please no more nonsense, I reached the lookout and thankfully made it there in less than 30 minutes. We continue on to Mirror Peak, and this time, the kidnapper actually shows up. And you think, wow, finally some answers.
Nope.
He's on his knees, rambling, talking to no one like he's 5 minutes deep into a Reddit conspiracy post. Then, out of nowhere, a shadow tornado. The dude gets launched into the sky like a discount Dorothy, and Alan's like,
No. Wait.
Alan flies off the cliff, lands in the lake, hits the water so hard it's probably a chiropractic event. And just when you think, well, he's dead, that's it, a mysterious figure drags him out of the water, concluding chapter 3. Alan wakes up in a room that screams, you've been sedated by someone with a PhD and zero morals. Enter Dr. Harmon, the local shrink with serial killer eyebrows. He tells us we had a psychotic episode and basically tries to gaslight Alan into thinking this has all been one giant stress stream. During our awkward tour of the brainwashing facility, we run into the Anderson brothers, 2 retired rock stars who have absolutely been microdosing LSD since 1976. They're wild, they're cooked, but they mention the Lady of the Light and that we need to go to their farm for answers. Then a storm rolls in, lights flicker, and the Andersons just straight up knock out a nurse like they're tag teaming a WWE storyline, which weirdly helps because they leave us the keys. But before escaping, I remember this is a platinum run, which means suffering. So I find a hidden room, listen to literal therapy recordings between Dr. Harmon and Alice. Anyway, the darkness attacks the lodge, furniture starts flying, beds levitate, Ottomans try to commit murder.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
While dodging airborne IKEA, I stop to stare at a TV. Why? No idea, but the game rewards me for doing it. And then on our way to the Anderson farm, Alan goes full artillery mode, dropping flare gun kills like he's in a fireworks duel with Satan himself. And a couple of bullets later, we get 50 shotgun kills too. We finally pull up to the Anderson farm, and yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect. It's got barns, it's got a stage, and probably a fridge full of expired Red Bull somewhere. As we approach the stage, Barry appears out of nowhere, dressed like Gene Simmons lost a bet. He's being chased by Taken, but right as he hits the stage, pyro goes off. Speakers explode, the Taken evaporate in a wave of rock-fueled death. And then, the greatest moment in the game. Alan Wake, on stage, rock music blasting, waves of Taken swarming from every side. It's not horror anymore, it's a concert and we're headlining the apocalypse. I'm unloading shots, left, right, center, and popping batteries like they're Tic Tacs. No time to reload, no time to breathe, just pure flashlight-fueled fury. Everything is dying, I'm running low, Barry's yelling, the music's still going. I think I even blacked out halfway through, but my thumbs kept working. And once the stage is clear, the lights die down, the guitar fades out, and we get another missable trophy. And with the stage cleared and the smoke settling, I do what any rockstar does after a sold out show, mop up bonus trophies. First, collateral carnage. Basically, kill 20 Taken indirectly. You don't shoot them, you just strongly suggest they walk into some OHS violating electrical wires, and next minute, trophy. How did I unlock it? Not a clue. I was flare spamming like a madman, and I guess one of the Taken just tripped into a power line mid-attack. We also get KBF FM for listening to every radio station. Another collectible, another dozen minutes of forest static and local conspiracy theories.
Take a look at this. Jesus Christ, that right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac?
We make it to the farmhouse, flip the power, and the Taken are probably lined up outside like a demon mosh pit, waiting for round 2. But instead, Anderson music, moonshine, vibes. Alan chugs the mystery juice and takes a power nap. And in that dream, he relives the beginning of the story. The pieces click, the dots connect, and Alan wakes up screaming, "It's all my fault," which, lucky for us, Agent Nightingale hears. And that man's already halfway into a psychotic breakdown with a gun, so this is not gonna age well. Chapter 5 starts with Alan in jail, which, if we're being honest, is probably the safest he's been all game. Except Ancient Nightingale shows up again, looking like a man who hasn't slept or showered since the Cold War.
Why are you the way that you are?
He's read the manuscript, bad idea, and starts ranting about conspiracies, timelines, plot holes, basically treating Alan like the final boss of his personal schizophrenia. Then the shadows roll in, and before Nightingale can even finish his breakdown, the tornado drags him away. Sheriff Breaker sees it, believes it, and instantly thinks maybe this guy isn't just a lunatic with a flashlight kink. So now we're heading across Bright Falls in the middle of the night, which is always a bad idea, to reach a helicopter that'll take us to the dam. Crossing Bright Falls sounds like a scenic tour ride. Small town, quaint streets, maybe a bakery. No, it's a never-ending gauntlet of locked doors, missing keys, and shadow people trying to rearrange my skeleton with axes. Every new section of town is just rinse and repeat. Alan shows up, doors locked, darkness shows up, Alan panics, Alan dodges, Alan fires flare guns directly into the face of his own anxiety. It's not so much combat design as it is psychological warfare in waves. And somewhere amidst all the chaos, we detour into one of the weirdest trophies in the game, Drink 'em Both Up, which involves walking into the old diner and turning on the jukebox again. With the music echoing through the ruins of my sanity, we're back into action. I'm dodging Taken like they owe me money, throwing flashbangs like I'm playing dodgeball at a rave, and laying waste with the hunting rifle like it's deer season in hell. Eventually, through raw panic and poor flashlight budgeting, we make it to the chopper. And because Alan Wake is allergic to relief, we get ambushed again. But the real kicker, Sheriff Breaker starts pre-flight checks like she's flying a Boeing out of JFK. Meanwhile, I'm down below fighting off what feels like the entire town, reanimated and rabid, while armed with a pistol, a half-melted energizer, and a deep unspoken fear of failure.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I didn't do fucking shit!
I'm sprinting through ammo, the flashlight's flickering like a dying disco ball, and the Taken just keep coming. And still, somehow, I don't die. Eventually, the sheriff screams that the chopper is ready, and like a man who's just finished a group project by himself, Alan jumps in and we finally get out of that cursed town. As we're approaching the dam, just hoping we're about to reach a point of stability, the chopper gets dive bombed by a swarm of birds that look like they've been mainlining Red Bull in darkness. The sheriff loses control, Alan gets yeeted from the sky like it's just a normal Tuesday, and crash lands in what's apparently the only haunted car park in North America. Of course, ambush incoming. You already know the drill. Flashlight, shoot, scream, and repeat until shadows go poof. Once we finish our emotional support combat session, we reach the dam and meet Cynthia Weaver. She's been guarding something called the well-lit room. But first, we need to be the errand boy for a dam-wide side quest involving floodgates, because nothing says main story like helping someone open some rusty plumbing. So we head around the back of the dam, get ambushed again, destroy a few more Shadow Bros, and finally arrive at the floodgate control. There's a puzzle. It's not hard, but it's just annoying enough to make you question whether it needed to exist. We crawl through a pipe that loops back towards the dam, and just as Alan gets cell reception, he calls Barry to say, "Hey, I'm still alive," and the universe responds by crashing the helicopter. Now Alan has to ditch Cynthia and sprint back into the forest to rescue Barry and the sheriff, because apparently nobody in this game is capable of staying in one place for 5 seconds. Through the woods we go again, more dodging, more aggressively whispering, "I hate this place," under your breath. We find Barry and Sheriff Breaker miraculously alive and doing fine, which is great. But before we can enjoy 1 second of emotional stability, the group gets separated. Alan's alone again, as usual, and now has to climb to the top of the dam. And surprise, giant shadow tornado again. And this time it's throwing literal chunks of trash at Alan like a dark god with anger management issues.
Dodge this.
Alan legs it, full sprint, no plan, just vibes and survival instincts. And just when it looks like he's about to get black holed into another dream sequence, Barry, the sheriff, and Cynthia kite him into an elevator like a bunch of sweaty Apex teammates pulling a revive. Alan stumbles in, door closes, Storm gets left behind, and finally, we're inside the well-lit room. And what's just sitting there on the table? The clicker, the one from the beginning, the one that's somehow supposed to fix all of this. Why is it here? Plot, I don't know. With the clicker acquired, suddenly everything makes sense. Or at least Alan thinks it does. He knows he needs to head back to Cauldron Lake, wrap it all up, end the nightmare, close the book. But before we can even get there, the game hits pause and drags us into one final flashback. Does it explain anything? No. Is it emotional? Still no. Does it let us watch one more TV for a trophy? You better believe it. Flash forward to the present, Alan hops in a car and begins a long drive to the lake. But here's the twist. This final chapter needs to be completed without firing a single shot. That's the trick. That's the challenge, and yes, it's a trophy. A missable one. No time to think though, as we steal a car, and what follows is the most aggressive drive of the game. Mowing down Taken like they're speed bumps made of shadow. No ammo spent, just full throttle and a complete disregard for supernatural pedestrian safety.
You're a monster!
Along the way, we also clean up the last of the normal playthrough collectibles, because apparently there's no better time to finish a scavenger hunt than during the final battle for your soul. And with all that out of the way, we arrive at Cauldron Lake, having still not fired a shot. Of course, the peace doesn't last long though. The tornado's back, so Alan loads up his flare gun and unleashes the light show of the century. But before the storm can fall, a swarm of ravens dive bomb us for one final screw you from the animal kingdom. And Alan responds by flashlighting every last one into crispy nuggets. One final flare into the swirling heart of darkness, and the tornado collapses like my will to live after collecting 100 thermoses. And with the tornado obliterated, Alan finally enters the cabin at Cauldron Lake. Because of course, everything always ends at the creepy cabin where it all started. Except now, we're in some kind of dream realm, or maybe a writing metaphor, or maybe limbo. I don't know, man. At this point, I think I've hallucinated half the plot. Inside the dream, Alan starts blasting literal words with his flashlight, like glowing words just floating in the void. Zapping one of them reveals the final thermos because sure, even the afterlife has collectibles. We finish the dream rave, push forward into the cabin's heart, and there she is, Barbara Jagger, still dressed like the world's creepiest scarecrow, just standing there, waiting for her plot-appropriate exorcism. Alan walks up, doesn't say a word, and shoves the clicker straight into a creepy little ribcage. The explosion of light is massive, Barbara evaporates in one last overly dramatic flicker, the darkness dies, the story collapses. And Alan writes himself out of the nightmare, sacrifices his freedom to save Alice. She climbs out of the lake, gasping for air. Bright Falls is suddenly back to normal, no shadows, no Taken, no tornadoes. Just sunshine, smiles, and a suspicious lack of trauma. With the story wrapped up, darkness defeated, and all the thermoses collected like a maniac, there were only a few trophies left. I won't go into the full recap of that run here, because I already made a whole separate video where I beat the game on Nightmare without using guns. Anyway, we sweep through the game one last time, scoop up the remaining manuscript pages, and finally unlock. Then come the big two, one for finishing the game on Nightmare, one for normal, because apparently you get both, and with that, the Platinum Trophy. So, did getting the platinum make Alan Wake better, or choke it with chores? Verdict? Indifferent. It's not the worst list on earth. Most trophies pop just by playing, but 2 full playthroughs feels a little silly. And the 300 plus collectibles is a comedy sketch. Thermoses, pages, signed, someone called recycling. Still, for a game from 2010, this thing still goes hard. Anyway, if this wasn't enough pain for you, don't worry. I also beat the game on Nightmare difficulty without using a single gun. Yes, it was stupid. Yes, it's a real video. And yes, it's linked on the screen right now. Go watch it. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you next time. Ciao Bella.